elect obtained it, but the rest were hardened, as it is written, God gave them a sluggish spirit, eyes that would not see, and ears that would not hear, down to this very day. And David says, let their table become a snare and a trap, a stumbling block and a retribution for them. Let their eyes be darkened so that they cannot see, and keep their backs forever bent. The salvation of the Gentiles. So I ask, have they stumbled so far as to fall? By no means, but through their stumbling, salvation has come to the Gentiles so as to make Israel jealous. Now, if their stumbling means riches for the world, and if their defeat means riches for Gentiles, how much more will their full inclusion mean? We'll conclude our reading at this point.
The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability, which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is P. Fitz, and for the next half hour, I'll be reading from the December 30th issue of the Challenger Community News on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Dr. Maulana Karenga, a profile of the creator of Kwanzaa. Dr. Karenga is internationally known as the creator of Kwanzaa, an African American and Pan-African holiday celebrated throughout the world. African community on every continent in the world. An activist, scholar of national and international recognition, Professor Karenga has played a major role in Black intellectual and political culture since the 1960s, including virtually every national African-centered movement: Black Studies, Black Arts, Black Power, Black Student, Pan-African Solidarity, Independent Schools, Rites of Passage, Black Liberation Theology, Afrocentricity, Ancient Egyptian Asian Studies, Ifa Ethical Studies, Black United Fronts, Reparations, and the Million Man March, for which he wrote the mission statement. Born Ronald McKinley Everett, July 14th, 1941, in Parsonsburg, Maryland, to Levi Everett, a Baptist minister, and Addie Everett, Dr. Karenga is the youngest of 14 children. He was raised on a tenant farm in Parsonsburg, where he and his family worked in exchange for housing and a portion of the produce they harvested. Everett attended Salisbury High School, an all-black school, and then transferred to William Penn High School in York, Pennsylvania, graduating in 1958. He then moved to Los Angeles to stay with his elder brother, Cheston. He began taking classes at Los Angeles City College. While there, he developed an interest in campus politics, and in 1961, he became the first African American elected to serve as the college's student body president. He then went on to attend the University of California at Los Angeles, or UCLA, and earned a Bachelor of Arts in 1963 in political science, as well as a Master's in Art in political science in 1964, with a specialization in African studies. While he was a student, he met Black Power advocate Malcolm X, who inspired him to turn his attention toward social activism. Everett began participating in civil rights marches and assemblies and studying activist literature while working on a doctorate at UCLA. After the Watts riots in August of 1965, he joined the Black Power movement. It was during the 60s that he adopted the honorable title Maulana from Swahili, which he used to denote master, teacher, later taking it as his first name, and changed his surname to Karenga, inspired by a Kikuyu word he interpreted to mean keeper of tradition. The creation of Kwanzaa on September 7th of 1965, Karenga was one of the founders of the organization called US meaning us blacks, now known as the organization US, whose purpose is to encourage cultural and social change in black unity. Karenga formed a doctrine which he named Kawaida, a Swahili word that can be used to denote custom or tradition for the organization. One aspect of Kawaida was a value system for the group as well as for the people of African heritage that he called Nguzo Saba, Swahili for the 7 principles, which he developed with his knowledge of African culture and the Swahili language. The principles are umoja, or unity, kujikagulia, or self-determination, ujima, collective work and responsibility, ujama, cooperative economics, naya, purpose, kuumba, creativity, and imani, faith. Dr. created Kwanzaa, derived from the Swahili phrase matunda ya Kwanzaa, meaning first fruits, in 1966 to introduce his 7 principles on a national level and bring African Americans together to reconnect with their roots while celebrating family, cultural heritage, and community. The Nguzo Saba served as the 7 principles that celebrants focused on during Kwanzaa. Since its inception, the non-religious holiday celebrated each year from December 26th through January 1st, with daily ceremonies featuring the 7 candle kinara, decorations, food, drumming, and dancing, has grown in popularity. Kwanzaa is observed not only in the United States, but in countries all over the world, particularly in Caribbean and other countries where there are large numbers of descendants of Africa. He is the author of the authoritative book on the subject, Kwanzaa, A Celebration of Family, Community, and Culture. Dr. Karenga earned a PhD at the International University in San Diego in 1976 in political science, with an emphasis on theory and practice of nationalism. He earned a second PhD in 1994 in social ethics, with an emphasis on classical African ethics of ancient Egypt from the University of Southern California. His dissertation, Ma'at, The Moral Ideal in Ancient Egypt, a study in classical African ethics, was published as a book in 2004. In 1989, he became a professor and the department chair of Black, later Africana Studies Department at California State University, Long Beach. He announced last month that he will be retiring from that position at the end of the year. Dr. Karenga also serves as a national chair of organization US, national chair for the National Association of Kawaida Organizations, and executive director of the African American Culture Center. East Side Parkways Coalition awarded $100,000 matching grant to support fight to restore Humboldt Parkway. East Side Parkways Coalition, or ESPC, to further their efforts to secure the complete removal of the 33 and the 198 and the full restoration of the original and historic Olmsted-designed Humboldt Parkway, the first citywide parkway and parkway system in the United States, instead of the New York State Department of Transportation's ill-conceived and inadequate tunnel and decking proposal. Humboldt Parkway was once the crown jewel of Buffalo's network of Olmsted-designed parks and parkways, and we have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to make it so again, commented Catherine Schweitzer, Executive Director of the Baird Foundation. But we won't get there by replacing a portion of it with a tunnel. The East Side Parkways Coalition has fought to ensure the best outcome for the community, and we are proud to stand with them and provide this financial support at this critical juncture. The contribution is made in acknowledgement of the ESPC's tireless advocacy that has resulted in three major recognitions over the past year. The designation of the restoration as the number one priority on the Partnership for the Public Goods of 2025 Community Agenda. The inclusion of the Preservation League of New York State's 7 to Save list and the National Olmsted Network's President's Award. As a matching grant, the Foundation's funds are intended to inspire additional support from individual and corporate donors, foundations, and other sources, and will be utilized for the advocacy efforts, marketing, and informational meetings, and community events, legal fees, and other such expenses necessary to succeed. Interested parties can securely make a donation at eastsideparkwayscoalition.com/donate. Council okays homestead plan to sell vacant city-owned lots for $1,000. It was announced last month that Common Council approved the 2025 homestead plan to sell vacant city-owned lots in residential zones at a flat rate of a minimum of $1,000 to neighboring homeowners, developers, and nonprofits. However, potential owners must submit their plans for the land for one of these following reasons: to homestead vacant lots to develop into infill housing, to augment their side yards, to develop a community asset such as a community garden or urban farm. Ellicott District Council member Leah Halton Pope said the council members will have a say in the sale of the lots as a safeguard, assuring it won't be a free-for-all. The city of Buffalo owns about 6,000 vacant lots in residential zones throughout the city, primarily concentrated on the east side, and has had a homestead plan since 1974. Contact your district council member for more information. You can find your district council member's contact info online at buffalo.ny.gov/387/common-council-members. Greater Faith Temple Church of God in Christ gets landmark designation. The Greater Faith Temple Church of God in Christ has been approved by the Common Council for a landmark designation for the church building at 480 Hickory Street. The request was made by the church along with Preservation Buffalo Niagara. Built in 1860 as a second German Baptist church, the pre-Civil War building has been cited as one of the oldest surviving religious structures in Buffalo. The designation may help the church get sacred site grants and other fundings. The church is led by Pastor Cleveland Perry Howell. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Challenger on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Poloncarz appoints James Blackwell as Chief of Staff. Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz has named James Blackwell as his next Chief of Staff, a position that Blackwell will assume on January 1st. Currently serving as State University of New York's Erie's Vice President of Administration, as well as SUNY Erie's governmental liaison at local, state, and federal agencies. Blackwell previously served as director of the Erie County Office of Equal Employment Opportunity, and before that as a special assistant to the county executive. He holds both the bachelor's and master's degree from Ball State University. An equal opportunity as Director of Equal Employment Opportunity for Erie County from 2020 to 2024. Blackwell led the county in conducting its first ever disparity study to ensure that Minority Women Business Enterprise MWBE program is compliant with federal standards. I'm honored and excited to return to county government in the capacity of Chief of Staff, and I look forward to working with our dedicated employees and community partners to make a meaningful, positive impact throughout the county, Blackwell said. From National World News, this is from December 19th. U.S. secures its national security in, quote, so-called Congo peace deal. Black Agenda report. The so-called, in quotes, peace agreement between Rwanda and Congo prioritizes U.S. access to mineral riches. The violence carried out against thousands of civilians continues. In fact, just days after the Trump-led peace talks, a new city in Congo's east fell to rebels backed by Rwanda. Donald Trump invited President Paul Kagame of Rwanda and President Felix Tshisekedi of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, DRC, to Washington, D.C. on Thursday, December 4th, to consummate a peace agreement that the foreign ministers of both countries signed on June 27, 2025. Although the high-level meeting was promoted as the signing of a peace deal, it went far beyond the mere signing of a peace deal. 4 agreements were signed among the 3 leaders. Of the 4 agreements signed, the most crucial and consequential is the bilateral strategic partnership agreement between the United States and the Congo. Although phrased as a partnership, it is not an accurate representation of what was signed. In essence, it is an agreement that secures the United States supply chain of critical minerals from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, for military/defense and commercial purposes. In addition, the agreement curtails China's ability to expand its presence in the DRC, a veritable strategic minerals containment strategy. China owns 15 of the 19 cobalt mines in the Congo and processes 90% of the world's cobalt, which is indispensable to military industries, the green energy sector, auto industry, artificial intelligence, the tech sector, and more. Although China is the target of any state or company that is not part of the strategic partnership will be limited in its access to Congolese minerals. Access to Congolese minerals will now be determined by the United States in concert with the DRC government, as articulated in this strategic agreement. Canadian government announces more than $15 million for black businesses in the prairie. Canada's federal government announced major funding for black businesses in the prairies in October of 2025, committing $15.2 million in funds over 5 years to the Black Entrepreneurship Program, or BEP, Ecosystem Fund. Eleanor Olszewski, Minister of Emergency Management and Community Resilience, and the Minister responsible for Prairies Economic Development Canada, made the announcement at the Africa Center in Edmonton on Friday. This was on December 1st. She said the money will help not-for-profit organizations deliver training, services, and other supports to Black-led businesses and entrepreneurs, enabling them to grow and succeed. We will cater to the unique needs of Black entrepreneurs across the prairies, and we're really delivering the fund in a way that reflects local priorities and strengthens our local communities, Olszewski said, adding that the community still faces barriers like racism, discrimination, and lack of access to capital, resources, and opportunities. This comes as an extension to last year's federal government announcement of $189 million in funding throughout the country through 2030 to the BEP. According to the minister's office, there are approximately 247,000 Black people living in the prairies, which makes up about 3.7% of the population in the region. This was sourced from Canada's CTV News article by Adrian Lee, published on October 24th. Returning to local news, $10 million awarded to commercial and mixed-use projects on Buffalo's east side. Governor Kathy Hochul has announced a significant investment in Buffalo's east side, awarding $10 million from the new East Side Building Fund to 35 commercial and mixed-use projects. Pivotal funding is dedicated to accelerating private building renovations and infill development, directly supporting the revitalization of commercial corridors across the east side. The $10 million fund, first announced by the governor in May, marks another step in the state's ongoing commitment to create thriving economic hubs on the east side. The East Side Building Fund awards represent strategic deployment of resources our administration committed to better serve the needs of the community, Governor Hochul said. By easing the financial burden on property owners, we are directly investing in our commercial corridors, ensuring they are revitalized and better equipped to anchor and support East Side neighborhoods for years to come. Some of the awardees are Loads of Love. Brandy Barrett, 61 Laura Street. Brandy is a graduate of community-based real estate development training program. Loads of Love will be a new construction, 2-story mixed-use building with a community laundromat and cafe, along with affordable housing units. Legacy Developers, Ellen Sharif, 273 Hickory Street. She is a graduate of the community-based real estate development program training. 273 Hickory is mixed-use adaptive reuse project that will create 29 affordable apartments and over 6,000 square feet of commercial space in the Willard Park neighborhood. Styles of Man, Hakeem Hicks of 1348 East Delavan Avenue. Hicks is a graduate of the community-based real estate development training program. Small project funds will be used for facade improvements, such as windows, doors, and awnings, along with heating and ventilation, air conditioning, and energy efficiency upgrades to the commercial space. Fat Cats Restaurant and Bar, Kim Collins, Kensington. Small project funds will be used for exterior improvements, such as new signage, painting, lighting, and windows. Interior upgrades to improve restaurant operations. Imperial Food Market, Samir Salam of 3039 to 3045 Bailey Avenue. Small project funds will be used for exterior facade enhancements, roof repairs, and upgrade energy efficient electrical improvements to the Kensington Bailey's Imperial Foods Community Market. Barrett Benitez, development founder and co-owner of Brandy Barrett, said, "The commitment Governor Hochul has made to the east side of Buffalo continues to be reflected in moments like this. Her commitment to reinvest and has ignited true change where transformational projects like Loads of Love can be a true reality. We are grateful to Empire State Development and their local team for not only understanding the need for essential services like laundromat, but understanding our story, reasoning with the barriers, and being problem solvers and supporting along the way. Thank you, Governor Hochul, ESD, and the entire city of Buffalo." A Veterans Honor. Normally on the other side of the camera, challenger, photographer, and creator of the weekly Veterans Profile feature, Darvin Adams, is pictured with his little cousin, Nadia, a student at Lorraine Academy, and Erie County Clerk, Mickey Kearns. The students at Lorraine recently honored relatives who are veterans, and County Clerk Kearns was the guest speaker at the event. Congratulations to all the honorees. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from the December 30th, 2025 issue of The Challenger. Your reader has been P. Fitz. Thank you for listening. Have a happy new year. Stay safe.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have a reading of the Batavia Daily News. Following that at 10 o'clock is the East Aurora Advertiser, and at 11 we have the Niagara Gazette. Stay with us for these readings and more throughout the day. You're listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Our volunteer radio readers broadcast daily readings of printed matter to our listeners who are blind or have a print disability throughout western New York and southern Ontario's Niagara Peninsula. The Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service has brought nearly 40 years and more than 300,000 hours of radio readings to those without sight. Our broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED. For more information, call us at 716-821-5555. The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Margaret Mack, and for the next hour I'll be reading from the December 31st issue of the Batavia Daily News on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. And the front page article is by Mike Pettinella. Storm outages linger. National Grid distributes dry ice, bottled water. With thousands of customers continuing to be without electricity, a handful of National Grid employees traveled to Batavia on Tuesday afternoon to distribute dry ice and bottled water to those in need. As in the past, the City of Batavia Fire Department served as the distribution